LFC Daytrippers, brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav, and with me this evening, for the first time in a while, I have got Peter Smith. This is Winners and Losers, and we are going to bring you two winners and two losers that we feel from the weekend that was the FA Cup third round. This show is brought to you by bookmakers.com. The link for their website is in the description if you want to go and check that out. It's really, really good. If you like gambling, there's loads of stuff there for you, where offers and different things from different companies. If and always gamble responsibly. If you don't like gambling, you might want to give it a miss. But I would say, if you go on there and look up, there's loads of stats, loads of analysis, right, articles, different things. So even if you've no intention of gambling, it's not a bad website to go to. It can help you with, I don't know, if you're looking up stats in the Premier League or teams or players or trying to work out who's on form for your fantasy football is usually a good one as well. The link is also in the description for our YouTube channel. Go over there and subscribe. Hit the bell icon. I am doing a show with them once a week now. We are recording the next one tomorrow, so make sure you go over there, like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon, and that should be out around lunchtime tomorrow. Where we look forward to the Premier League returning again after the FA Cup. P, how are you?
Good. Cannot complain. If I did, no one would listen. You know.
Correct. That's a real Dublin thing, isn't it? How are you? I'm grand. Fucking no one listens anyway. Yeah. But look, we're gonna do winners and losers. Just me and P. We usually have three, sometimes four on the show, but we've gone down to two. And we're gonna start off with your winner, which I think it's a really good one. It's quite poignant, but it's a really good one. It gives us a chance to talk about the man. Kick us off. Who is your winner?
My winner, there can only be one for me. My winner, my big winner, Gianluca Vialli. May you rest in peace. For me, let's start at the basics. You know, one of the all-time great players, great goal scorers, a great goal scorer and a scorer of great goals. A winner of going back to basics. I mean, he gets his move obviously from Cremonese to Sampdoria based on what he does with a really small club. Then, sets the world on fire with Sampdoria, nicks a UEFA Cup, I think, or a Cup Winners' Cup with Sampdoria, and wins a league title. Gets a world record move in 1991, I think, or 1992 to Juventus at a time when Serie A is the toughest league and the best league in the world. Doesn't matter what anybody says.
Does he leave Sampdoria after the beating in the European Cup final by Barcelona?
By Barcelona, I think. He's famously in that final. If you remember, Gianluca Vialli is the one that puts his head in his hands as Ronald Koeman is stepping up to take the free kick. That's my enduring memory from what was a bad final.
Yeah.
Vialli had just been taken off. He had missed a couple of decent chances, to be fair. But I think Barcelona's name was on that turn. But Sampdoria were absolutely unreal. You're dead right. But my enduring memory from that final, which I think was at Wembley, was him putting his head in his hands as Ronald Koeman is stepping up, because we all knew, anyone that was a kid at that stage knew that a Ronald Koeman standing over a free kick meant only one thing.
Yeah. Koeman, just on Koeman, when you go back and watch him, like, you see it now and you remember him as a Dutch manager, Everton manager, famously, Barcelona, it doesn't go right, but as a player at Barcelona, he was like literally, it was mad to watch Barcelona in them days, because he was so good at passing, Ronald Koeman, that he was literally striding across the halfway line. You'd have the opposition with about 7 players in a line strung across the pitch, playing a mad high line, and Koeman just popping balls in behind for whoever felt like running onto them. It was actually mad to watch.
He was so good. There was one stage that for himself, he was that good. I mean, he was such a good reader of a game. I remember seeing a ball where he puts a through ball through for himself. He flicks it over the entire back four, makes a run, and follows his own run in and slides it back. Ronald Koeman was an incredible goal scorer. as well as an incredible sweeper. He's just a brilliant all-round player and a smack of a ball like you've never seen.
Yeah.
You're dead right.
But Vialli, he's at Juventus.
World record transfer, I think about 13 million quid. If Keith Plunkett was on the show, because I know Keith's our Serie A man, this is a time when you had players like, Van Basten had just retired, I think. Players like Ruud Gullit running around, Frank Rijkaard, creme de la creme, all in Italy. And Vialli is worth more money than all of them. And just the fun.
Because Milan at this time, 92, 93, 94, Milan are just sensational.
Dominant.
Yeah.
And Juventus are spending money basically trying to keep pace with them.
Yeah.
And Vialli is their big purchase that summer. And as always, delivered. But of course, it was difficult, as you've pointed out, to trade punches with AC Milan, who were the world's powerhouse at the time. But again, Gianluca Vialli delivered, and on an international level, I mean, it's.
Does he win a European Cup with Juventus in '96?
Yeah, he does.
Is that the one in the Olympico? No, I get a feeling that might be in the Olympico, and Ravanelli scores, I think, from a really tight angle with his right foot, just dribbles across the goal.
Maybe.
And into the goal. I think Juventus might be playing in blue.
Yeah, but he won. You're right. He won all 3 European trophies.
Yeah, because he win. But when he moves to Chelsea, does he win a Cup Winners' Cup with Chelsea as player manager?
Yeah, and an FA Cup. Well, sorry.
Well, I'm sure there was an FA Cup in there somewhere, because Chelsea were always winning them.
Chelsea were, they were. And he does. But within a year, I think he's made player manager. I mean, listen, for a guy who comes over, barely speaking English, learns the language quickly. I think he started going out with even an English girl, and I mean, within a year he's made player manager. That'll tell you not only how good a player he was, but how good a human being he was. I mean, a lot is made of the fact that Ruud Gullit was manager there, fell out with a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't fancy him as a manager there. But I think it was completely different with Vialli. And I tell you, Gav, the thing that for me that struck me most about Vialli, I mean, I had known bits about his life story, but Gianluca Vialli didn't need money. He comes from millions. His father was a self-made millionaire. I think the father was a very, very successful builder, and he was actually raised in a family, I think, of 3 or 4 kids in a mansion of 60 rooms. So it wasn't about money for Gianluca Vialli. It was about the pure love of the game and, wanting to do something that he loved. For me, I just a huge loss at 58 years of age.
No age.
Yeah, and I know what you're doing at the moment. For cancer, we're going to talk about it a little bit later on. So it's a subject close to your heart and close to a lot of hearts out there. There's a few lads that we're involved with that, obviously have been affected family wise by, by cancer. But to be taken away, and I think the thing that struck me the most beyond, I watched at the weekend, Graham Souness talking, and for someone like that, he didn't even seem that interested in talking about him as a player, even though he obviously was an absolute, genius, a great player. He just wanted to talk about him as a human being, and it seemed to be a common thread amongst everybody that was paying tribute to him. And Kev says the right thing, the enduring image, is that hug between 2 best friends. To touch people at such a high level and in such a human way, and for it not be really even connected to football, just the fact that he was such a good guy, it's just
The thing is, right, we were doing a show, and I can't remember what show it was, right, because it was a tangent we went off on, and I can't even remember what day it was. But we were talking about something completely different to this, but we ended up on Italian football in the 90s. And I was saying about how the Irish channel, Network 2, now RTE 2, used to show it on a Monday night. Used to have an hour long, 9:30 on a Monday, and you were hiding up in the room with the telly on, hoping your ma wouldn't come up and say, "Listen, turn her out to bed, school in the morning." And like, when you think of it, you do think of Van Basten, you think of Hully, you think of Rijkaard, but you do think of Mancini and Vialli at Sampdoria. And when you look at Milan and the ground he played in, Juventus in the Delle Alpi, you had Milan in the San Siro or the Giuseppe Meazza, I think it's called, wasn't
Yeah, or the
it?
San Siro.
And then you had Sampdoria, who ground shared with Genoa in Genoa, and you know, but that place was fucking mental when Sampdoria were great, like proper mental. You know,
Yeah,
stands behind, terraces behind the goal, really close to the goal. They were down low. They weren't like in at Milan where they were up high. You know, and they weren't like they were in Turin where it was a big bowl. You know,
yeah.
it was a running track. This was like, it was like an English ground. That's
Oh
exactly what
yeah.
it was
Well,
like.
it was like a throwback to an English one because you remember the Italians. Serie A didn't toe the line with the rest of Europe when after Hillsborough. They kept the fences up. They didn't care. It was like no. They, we have ultras to think of. We have to keep these people separate from the players. So you would see that iconic celebration of most of the players jumping on the cage.
On the glass and stuff
Oh
like that.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I always loved the ground. I don't. It's Genoa. I can't remember the name of the ground, and I should do because it's where Ireland won the quarter final or got into the quarter final of the World Cup in 1990. But
The Ennio Tardini, was it called the
no, I
Ennio
think it's
Tardini?
something like
Or was that Parma?
no. Someone will tell me the name in a minute. But that ground when Sampdoria were doing well, both ends, blue, white, red, and they were right on top of you. And the nets, I always loved the nets because the nets weren't big bulging nets, they were really small, shallow nets at the back. And I was a
Yeah.
big fan of them. Like, I was a big fan of West Ham and Luton and QPR having them nets for, don't ask me why. But it was just mad. And then I loved the big bulging nets at Italia 90, where they
Yeah.
were they were a different shape net. They weren't square, they were kind of this hexagon sort of shape. But if you go back, like, and I keep saying this on shows, I don't know how we end up doing it, but for anybody that doesn't know it, or probably does and goes, "Jeez, that might be something," because as we get older, all I find anyway, that I start going back to stuff I know about, but like to watch again, and I'm constantly finding myself doing that. But try go back and look at Sampdoria in that league winning season or any time around that kind of early 90s and just watch that stadium. It's mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Walking.
look, people are mentioning Lombardo as well. He was at Palace. I
Yeah.
actually seen him play at Anfield for Palace
Yeah.
in around 98, I want to say. To get relegated that season. But yeah, it's a huge loss to football. 58 is no age, like you say. He was a
Nothing.
brilliant footballer. He turns up, and someone else said there earlier, like Zola and Vialli done what no one else could do and made you want to watch Chelsea, because Zola turns up in 95 at Chelsea, and he's just like,
Yeah.
people are like, what's going on here? He's about 5'3", and he's just running
Taking
rings
the
around
piss.
people.
I mean, he made Jamie Carragher look silly. I mean, I used to dread those games because you knew it was coming. You just knew he was going to do a little
He done the
dance.
same to United one time. Erwin
Yeah.
at the back post. It was that while Stamford Bridge was being redeveloped. I'll always remember it. And he turns, I think, Erwin inside out on the end line and smashes it past Michael. It's you know what, you think of Zola and then you think of Vialli, and Vialli was just a brilliant finisher. He was a great footballer, great football brain, but he was a proper finisher, proper goal
I
scorer.
think the thing that I remember about his finishing is he was for me, he's the architect of, that early finish. And the ball comes to you in your stride, and the fella wouldn't even let it take a second hop, and bang, from nowhere. He scored a goal against Barnsley that a few channels have picked up on over the last few days. And he takes it so early at such an angle that even the commentator, I think Andy Gray and Richard Keys at times, they just stunned into silence because the Premier League hadn't seen that kind of quality. Just hadn't seen that kind of quality yet. They were used to, I mean, obviously you're talking about the days of Robbie Fowler would do something, Les Ferdinand, and Teddy Sheringham, but the kind of ruthless quality, either side, that half volley finishing from outside the box, regardless, just wasn't seen. You'd have to tune in, as you say, to James Richardson and watch Channel 4 to see the likes of Giuseppe Signori, Gabriel Battistuta, Gianluca Vialli do that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, we're seeing it, in the Premier League. And for me, that's what makes him a winner, makes him a pioneer. These guys up the stakes of the game. For me, look, Ruud Hulle, everybody knows, and John Barnes are my heroes. But Ruud Hulle set a standard for me when he came, like Vialli, for basically, listen, we're gonna not only am I going to be better, but we're going to play a different way because I'm here. It's just And Vialli was
Well,
one of them.
it is. I mean, keep going back to it. I don't know why, but Italian football in the early 90s was brilliant. Liz says, I think as we get older, sentimentality is more prevalent in sport and life. I think you're right. Liz, I find myself, honestly, like going back and I'll be sitting, do you know what I have a lot of habit of doing, right? Taking the kids' tablets, right? And putting them on the kitchen table and knocking off fucking SpongeBob or whatever's on it and going onto YouTube. You know, while you're having a cup of tea and you're flicking, I remember that. And you kind of go watch it. And you fully remember it. But you just start watching it again, you know. The 1990 World Cup shootout Ireland. I'll go and watch Liverpool 5, Forest 0 in the 87, 88. And you completely and utterly remember it. And you know, but you start doing that stuff. And I think this is spot on as you get older. I don't know, maybe you're trying to remember, so you know.
No, I don't know. No, she got a point. Definitely, Liz is right. But I look at, for example, Chris Wood playing up front for Newcastle at the same level that Gianluca Vialli was playing, and it's like two lads playing a different sport. You know, and Chris Wood went for big money to Newcastle, and I don't mean to pick on him. I could pick on Timo Werner. I could pick on a lot of fellas that I don't play the same position as Vialli. Went for bigger money. I know it's a different economy of scale, but it's like they're playing a different sport.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
Remote control account, good name, says, remember Genoa fucking us up when we were newly back in Europe?
Yeah.
I want to say, was it Branca, the left
Yeah,
back, scored a free kick?
I think, and they had a player called Aguilera up front that tore us a new one as well. Did they have Ruben Sosa, someone like that at the time? There was a first time.
I'm nearly sure Branca scores a free kick in the away leg, and I'm nearly sure Tony Hooper is in goal.
Mike Hooper.
I
remember they were the first team I'd ever seen to give us a new arsehole at Anfield, to be honest with you, with pure movement. I remember thinking at the time, my God, because they weren't setting the world on fire in Serie A. They were maybe 5th, 6th. But they led us in merry dance. That was the first sign that you knew that English football, I guess, well, we didn't care. But yeah. I suppose
I always remember because I think that's around 91-ish.
Yeah.
92. I think it might be the 92.
Yeah. Was it the same run as...
It's the 92-93 season in the Cup Winners' Cup. And I always remember that Genoa won because, again, Ireland had played there going back, you know, the 2 years previous. And I'm nearly sure it's Branca is the left back. Scores a free kick and Mike Hooper's in goal. I always remember that. Yeah. I'm saying that now. Someone will tell me I was wrong.
No, I think not at the level.
Thomas Scuravi and Branca took us down against Genoa. This is on book. Let me see. Remote control says, being shit-faced watching matches at Anfield when you were in your 20s, last day of the standing cop, I was blitzed. There's lads off this podcast to go away, and honestly, I think Phil Casey's fallen asleep 3 times at Anfield. And I genuinely remember being there, and I won't name them, but West Ham opening day of the 18-19 season, we beat West Ham 4-0, and honestly, there's 2 lads sitting in the Anfield Road end, and Shawnee Lawson was sitting in the Kenny, fairly close to the lads in the Annie Road, and could see them, and he said, like, they were literally like 2 cardboard cutouts because it was a heavy day the day before. But look, Gianluca Vialli, 58 passes away. You think of Cremonese, you think of Sampdoria, you think of Juventus, Chelsea. You know, he's gone on to manage another couple of clubs as well. I actually seen a video of him the other day with a GAA club in Finglas, Aaron's Oil in Finglas, where he does a challenge. I think it's against Harry Redknapp, but he's really good in it. And he's basically shown the forwards in Gaelic how to move like footballers in order to get chances on goal. So if you can find that, go and have a look at that as well. Yeah. But listen, you know, condolences to him and his family, his friends, former teammates, wherever it might be, because it's a huge loss to the football world. Who's your loser of the week?
Loser, Gav, is anyone that thinks the FA Cup is no good anymore. And
you're only saying this because you know Phil Casey won't be on because he hates.
Well, he's not on, so yeah, he's not going to hammer me for it. Listen, a couple of examples. Stevenage doing what they did, the way they did it to Aston Villa. And kudos to the admin of their Twitter account for hammering Phil Coutinho, to be honest with you. One of their players was substituted, and he said, listen, the guy who was coming off took an extra long time to come off because they were busy trying to empty out Phil Coutinho out of his pocket. I thought that was brilliant. And 2 last minute goals, if you will, to
You're robbing
take.
my winner here.
Oh my! I'll say nothing.
Right. You've said it
Um,
all now.
Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday. And I tell you, years ago, even Phil won't disagree with me here. The FA Cup used to make careers. If you look back, bad examples. A guy called Tim Bozzaglo was playing for Woking
Yeah,
way back, I
4-3
think.
against West Brom.
Exactly. And got a big move.
19... I want to say
91?
90?
1991, I think.
Yeah.
Got a big move. I think maybe he ended up at West Brom or Fulham or somewhere. But got a move out of non-league football. He used to make careers. I watched Sheffield Wednesday, 90 minutes of it, and listen, I know he's not a small time player. He's been north of the border, but Josh Windass looked as good as anybody, playing for Sheffield Wednesday against Newcastle. And don't be surprised if somebody dips in, and someone like an Everton, as desperate as they are, but dips in and tries to bring in someone like that. Seen a few players over the weekend that you kind of think to yourself, this fella could do a job. I mean, look, Wolves, I don't consider that a shock with the state that we're in, but Christ, you'd have 4 or 5 of those players on your books, to be honest with
So your winner of the week is anyone that thinks the FA Cup isn't still
you.
magic.
Me loser.
Your loser of the week is
It
anyone
was great.
that thinks
Great
the FA Cup
atmosphere.
is not magic.
Great atmosphere, great. Listen, I live in Spain, as you know, and the cup competitions here die on their arse. Barcelona were taking the extra time by a Tour division side. Some fella working as a barber scored a hat-trick against Barcelona.
Right.
But they ended up losing 4-3. But no one cares, no one writes about it, and it's not on telly. But in England, everybody's still watches the FA Cup. They're great games. Anyone that think it's probably gone the other way. The European competitions are now washing each other out, I think, and the FA Cup seems to be getting a little bit of kudos back. I don't know. People can disagree with me all they want, and feel free, but I think the FA Cup is back. I think it's magic. I think I've watched on all the channels, the different coverages. It was buzzing. I really enjoyed it, and I hope we stay in it. Hope we can turn Wolves over, because there'll be a few people sick if we do, and I hope we march on. I enjoyed winning it last year. Another trophy in the cabinet. Hope we can hold on to it.
Chris Brack says, who was the lad in 2001 who scored the winner in the FA Cup after answering an advert on Teletext? Ended up going to the semi-final versus Liverpool. Roy Essendon is the man there.
Farnborough, was it, or someone like that?
Wickham. What's his name is in charge? Laurie Sanchez is in charge. He answers an ad. Was it a Teletext? It might have been Teletext. But yeah, he ends up scoring on his first game, and I want to say Leicester at Filbert
Yeah,
Street.
Leicester. Was he called up by Northern Ireland?
I'm not too sure. But Roy Essendon was definitely Wickham, and I'm nearly sure they beat Leicester.
They did, yeah.
Who are in the Premier League at the time.
Yeah, he scores a header.
And I'm nearly think he scores at Filbert Street to give. I'm nearly sure that might be the winner, but listen, that's just me in my own head. Someone go and check it and let me know. But listen, I love all the things. Tim Bozzaglo of Woking. Even what was it Mickey Thomas for Wrexham against Arsenal around '92? The racecourse ground for Wrexham. I think of them. There's been some big shocks. Some big shocks, including Liverpool. Liverpool are beaten by Bolton, going back to '92. And I think
losing the final to Wimbledon, still one of the great upsets.
No, I think yeah, that's true. But I think Liverpool might have been holders of the tournament and go out against Bolton after a draw at Bolton.
Yeah.
And then we go back and we lose. John McGinley definitely scores against us. But I get all that and I love all that. Right, I do love all that genuinely. But I'm going to show my age a little bit here, and people probably go, "Oh, this old fart again." I think they're absolutely destroying the cup. Right? I get where you're coming from. You see good games, you see players, you go, "Oh, look at him. He's playing in League 2, and in 3 weeks' time he could be in a Premier League team or whatever." I 100% got all that. But I think they are mixed as we won it in '92. Yeah, I'm talking about we did win in '92, but I'm saying the following season, maybe '93 it was, that Bolton win. It was the '92-'93 season. That's what I think it was. But I think they're ruining it, right? I think this is what I think they should do with it, right? And I want the FA Cup to be magic. I like the FA Cup. I prefer the League Cup, but that's only because of what they've done to the FA Cup. League Cup, you know where you stand. It's going to be on a fucking Tuesday or a Wednesday night. You know, there used to be 2 legs of every round. Do you remember that?
I do.
But that's going back years and years to the early 90s and stuff. But you know what you're getting with the League Cup. The problem I have with this, FA Cup is that it's on Friday night, it's on Saturday night, it's on Sunday night, it's on Monday night. There's games from 12 right through till fucking 6 or 8 o'clock at night. You know, some of them are on this and some are on that. What they should do is, and this is my own opinion on it, right? Because the cup can be brilliant, okay? Put them all on Saturday.
They used to years and years ago, no?
They used to do years ago. They used to do a game at 12 on a Saturday. Everything else at 3, and you might get one at 5.
Yeah.
And then they might have one on a Sunday, right? And what they should do is they should open it up to all terrestrial TV, all of them, and say, there you go. What do you want? You want that game, Grant, right? And don't show any of the 3 o'clocks. And make the match of the day that night the way it used to be on FA Cup. You know, to be banging through the goals and stuff like that. Give the winner a Champions League spot. Okay? You don't have to touch the prize money. Just give the winner a Champions League spot.
Yeah.
And do away with replays.
Yeah, because you don't have to petition UEFA for that. You are given an allocation of places in the Champions League, and it's up to you as an organisation to allocate them to whom.
Correct. But England will soon have 5 in the Champions League. And I just think they should, and to bring this cup competition back, that's what I think they should do. I think we should wake up on the morning of the 3rd round and go, oh, fucking Havertz and Waterlooville are playing Spurs at 12. That'll be great, right? Because you know the old muddy pitch, early, cold, windy down in Havertz and Waterlooville or whatever. 3 o'clock, don't care if your team is fucking Liverpool or Man United. If you're on a 3, you're on a 3 and no one sees it unless you go to the game, right? And then 5 o'clock or whatever it is, 5:30, you put another game on. And maybe one on the Sunday and then you have the draw. That's what they used to do, right? 1 game on a Sunday and we do the draw. Or 2 games on the Sunday and we do the draw.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. Replays, I get with people saying, oh, well, you know, if fucking, I don't know, AFC Wimbledon come to Anfield and get a draw, or if they get a draw at their home place, they go back and they get a game at Anfield. I 100% get that, but you could probably squeeze more TV money out of it and say, right, you know, these are all getting this out. Like if you said that every club in the 3rd round, right, there's how many teams in the 3rd round? Fucking, they're all getting 50 grand each, right? Yeah. Something like that, and then you subsidise it that way. But I think it absolutely bring back the magic of the FA Cup. Go back to the old format. Make a big deal of it at the end if you win it and you get something, and then you won't see teams wandering around with 8 young fellas in it. You know what I mean, or 9 young fellas in it. They'll all want to win this competition. They'll see it as a viable competition.
Just a couple of cracking games in it, Gav, like Wrexham, Coventry, for example. You know, it's Nottingham Forest getting hammered by Blackpool. It's a couple of.
But John says we say to make it more serious. The only teams that win it are the big clubs. They do take it serious. They don't.
Not at all.
They don't. They just have much better squads.
Wigan won it.
What's there?
There's been a few surprises.
But look, John, I completely get you. If they actually took it really serious, they'd probably win it. Okay, but what I'm saying is, it's not only like there's a proper prize at the end of it, because the money they get for winning the FA Cup is fucking nothing compared to, you know, if you finish 2 places high in the Premier League, you probably get more than winning the FA Cup. But it also means then that more money will come into it because of the Champions League spot in it. More money will come in for advertising, so you're able to say to the lower clubs, listen, these boys over here are going to take it really seriously now, so your chance of winning are lowered. But you're in the 3rd round. There's 100 grand a club. Yeah. Right? If you go out in the 3rd round, you get 100 grand, regardless. Yeah. So even if they get it, draw at home, they're getting 100 grand on top of that. Do you know what I mean? And the chance of them getting, if you put a Champions League spot in, the chance of upsets happening are probably lessened. But it makes them more special if it does happen, because you know you've put everything in place there. I think it'd be brilliant. My winner is Stevenage, and listen, a couple of reasons, right? They beat Villa, right? But I've never seen a result come as a shock to so many hours after the game is over. Because like the amount of people I seen going, what? Stevenage won. It was like, are you
1-0
sure?
with
Because
89.
Villa were like winning with 89 gone, and you're like, and honest to God, right? The only reason I knew is because in our Telegram chat, somebody just wrote Villa with loads of laughy faces, and I was like, oh, something's happened here, and I checked it, and I seen it like 88 and 90 plus one. I was like, what? Which was funny, but. And don't get me wrong, that's absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? For Stevenage and the goal, you've seen the celebrations and you've seen everything like that. Sorry, Owenburg is right. Move the semi-finals to Villa Park, Old Trafford, etc. 100% stop using Wembley for semi-finals. Get rid of it. If you've two northern teams, lash them in Old Trafford. Unless United are playing, lash them somewhere else. Right? And if you have two southern teams, throw them at the Emirates or wherever you want. But
Wherever
stop using Wembley.
Yeah,
stop using Wembley. And by the way, sorry, just on the subject of semi-finals, before we give Stevenage more credit, semi-finals used to be held at Hillsborough, all right, for obvious reasons. They stopped, right? And yesterday, Newcastle or the day before, travelled to Sheffield Wednesday to play a third round game, and what we seen at the Leppings Lane end of that ground was people trying to get through that same tunnel to get to seats behind that goal and to get left and get right. Middle bit was full, everything on the edges, problem, all right? And no matter what you've done to that ground, you're still seeing people going through that tunnel, okay? What happened there yesterday, from all accounts, was a very close miss, okay? There's Newcastle fans that, are saying, look, there was a huge problem there yesterday. Lack of stewards going in, it's all open. Now, what I didn't say is all the walls over there and all, they're all gone around Leppings Lane. It's very open. But the problem with Leppings Lane is when you go through the gate, you have this tunnel. And if you're not shepherded one way or shepherded the other, you have a problem. Plus, when you come down that tunnel, if you're pushed down there, you're trying to get through an already congregated crowd to get across the left and across the right. And Red Steve says nothing learned there. How that stand still exists is a joke, says Mick. Could have been another disaster, says R. Ellison. Oisin says they've never learned, have they? It's shocking. I'm going on the picture scene yesterday. I'm going on comments from Newcastle fans that were in the ground, and 34 years after Hillsborough, we're still sitting here in 2023 talking about overcrowding at the Leppings Lane end, which is fucking appalling. But I will say, all the people that are on the internet now going on about Newcastle, look what happened, poor Newcastle fans, you might stop singing about Liverpool now. You might stop, turn around and go, do you know what, it might be funny in the ground at the time, but I've just seen it happening to somebody else in 2023 before you start singing these songs and making these fucking comments about Liverpool fans. And that's the thing that comes out for me. Brilliant that it's being highlighted, and it absolutely should be, but it might make people think, before making comments or singing songs from now on, as to, because listen, you mightn't have been around in 89 and you're probably being influenced by people that are a generation above you, and you just go with that because that happens. Football tribalism, you learn from the people above you or people older from you, but you've seen it for yourself today or yesterday or the day before. You've seen it yourself. So the next time you think about saying something about Hillsborough or Liverpool fans or using the word victims, just take yourself back to the tweet or whatever you read 2 days ago about Newcastle fans at Hillsborough in 2023 in the Leppings Lane end of the ground, and then think back how different or not different it was in 89 for Liverpool fans.
What are the police doing, though, Gav?
I don't know. It just looks to me like when you walk in there, I don't even know if you can go left or right now to get to the area you want to be in. But if you can, they weren't being pushed that way. They were being pushed straight down towards that tunnel. And it would have brought back, I think it would have brought back some horrible memories for the families of the victims, survivors, whatever it might be. But you know what? Nobody was injured there yesterday. And the good that could come out of it is that it's being highlighted again. And the fact that it's being highlighted again might make, and genuinely, I'm saying this, not for just the sake of saying it. I'm hoping that what people seen there yesterday will make them think again before they make comments online or in football grounds or around football grounds with regards to the Hillsborough disaster, because it's happening in 2023, right? And it happened in 1989. And what happened in 1989, we all know what the truth is there. And the truth was nearly brought out in front of you again. It could have been in 2023. If that crowd had have got pushed a little bit more and just panicked, right? Because the natural thing to do is panic, you know, claustrophobia, whatever it might be. And then you're in serious trouble. Luckily enough, it didn't. But I think what might come out of there yesterday might educate a few people. That's all I'm going to say on it. The FA apparently looking into it, Suzanne Dicko. But look, there was a survivor at the game, says Laszlo, interviewing The Guardian. Laszlo, I think you were in our Telegram group. If you can link me to that, I'd love to read it. But look, thankfully nothing happened. But anyway, let me get back to Stevenage. It is the magic of the cup. It is that one where, like genuinely, people hours later are going, no, Stevenage didn't win. We are all talking about Stevenage. I could see it on Twitter, and then people going, they won. And they're like, no, they couldn't have won. But it was good to see. It was great to see, wasn't it? Now, having said that, I don't know what the Villa goalkeepers are, but it kind of makes you laugh. Even, look, it doesn't make you laugh if it happens to Liverpool, but everyone else would have a laugh at you, and that's fine. That's the way football is. But it kind of made me chuckle and went, fair play. You know, that sort of way. Especially in that way. It wasn't like they went 2-0 up early and hung on. They came from behind. Pete, I thought it was the best story of the weekend.
You know, and that's the magic of it. You know, you think to yourself, it doesn't matter who's on the park. You know, you're wearing that crest, you're wearing that Premier League badge. You know, I don't care. You know, you're a signed player, you're registered. It's Premier League versus League Two. You know, there's absolutely no. You know, for me, I don't care. I stick by me guns. The magic of the FA Cup. It's being rekindled. I get you about restructuring and reallocating reward to it. I completely agree with you, to be honest. It's something since Manchester United wiped their feet in it in 1995 or 96. It's something that's needed to happen, or maybe after that they did it, but something that's needed to happen. And, you know, hopefully it will. I mean, for me, I think it's the most beautiful trophy. It's the trophy that's synonymous. After the World Cup, it's a trophy that's probably most synonymous with the game.
I think the UEFA Cup is glorious.
Yeah, it's beautiful as well, I have to say. For a trophy that's basically a second fiddle trophy.
Yeah,
now,
it's a fabulous trophy.
You know, it's so well designed. But the FA Cup, traditionally speaking, you know, looking at it, I mean, it's history. It's just, you know, it's a fabulous. For me, it says everything about it. My earliest memories of football are from, you know, the FA Cup, watching Liverpool as a child, a very small child in 1986, not really understanding, just wanting them to win. You know, right up to it starting to really mean something in 1989, where you're kind of going, oh, and Stuart McCall just kept everything that Stuart McCall hits goes in.
Yeah.
That for me, you know, that you telling me 100,000 Scousers at Wembley Stadium, the FA Cup meant everything, and for everybody, arm in arm, win, lose or draw. You know, some of people's most important memories on Merseyside are from that game and games like that. For me, the FA Cup will always be magic.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I don't know who Stevenage got in the next round. I barely found out who Liverpool got.
Man City, probably.
No, Man City got Arsenal in the next round.
Really?
Yeah, Liverpool are away to Brighton if they manage to beat Wolves. I don't know who Stevenage got. I don't know who United got. I don't know who anyone got, because I'm terrible at draw. Like, do you know why I'm terrible at seeing cup draws? Because you remember they start doing them in like fucking Bangkok at 4 a.m. and all. Do you remember that? And then you're like, I always remember the FA Cup being on the Sunday evening of the third round.
After the last game.
Yeah. You know, and now it's like, oh, it's on Monday and it's on this and it's on that, and you're like, what the you know, so now I just kind of go, I'm sure I'll find out. You know, I'll look it up. Well, I know it's happened. I'll look it up. They got Stoke away. Not a bad draw. And good to have a great go at, in fairness to them as well. Stoke aren't in the best. You know, you've got Reading, and people are coming up. Man City. Owen Book says, Man City drew the Galapagos Islands. No, they've got Arsenal, haven't they? But look, I think you could shift this FA Cup around. You can make it really appealing again. Keep the appeal in it for the smaller clubs with some sort of subsidising the money in some way. They're still getting their big draws, you know. And even if they even leave it in where, you know, if a conference team gets Liverpool, they have the option to switch it. Just go, you can switch that if you want. We've no
And keep
problem.
them.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it gives them more money. You know, they'd be getting well 50% of the gate, wouldn't they get? But they'd probably get the early kickoff, the Saturday or the Sunday kickoff, and then they get their money for that as well. Wrexham home to Sheffield United in the draw. But
Right.
yeah, I just think they could shift this a little bit and bring it back to its past glories. But I think you need a mix of modern stuff, as in the Champions League spot, and money, but getting it back into, let's watch matches today and let's watch fucking 18 games or goals, and, you know, let's watch 20 games. Let's have 2 or 3 where they talk about it, and then the rest of them just show us all the fucking goals. Do you know what I mean? And we can all sit there on a Saturday night. But no, I don't think it'll ever happen. There's too much money in the game. Football is dying on its arse. But what can we do about it?
Look, imagine a club that loses the 4th spot, or that finishes 4th, losing it, or maybe, you know, losing that Champions League spot to the FA Cup. But they'd be absolute murder.
Yeah,
which would be great if it's not Liverpool.
But the way it is, like, your priorities, you'll have to look at your priorities. That's just simply the way it is. And you know, like, you look now, Europa League, you get a Champions League spot. So why not the FA Cup? Let me see. And Dicko, this is a good point as well. But I kind of like the open draw bit of it. He says make it seeded. Make it seeded, can switch. Don't put Premier League sides who draw each other on TV. Yeah, but TV, you need to show good games on TV in order to pay the money into the pot for the FA Cup. So there's different things you have to kind of do. But I think a mix of the old and the new, I think, could work. But let me see. But let's go on, because I want to talk about Liverpool. Right? I have to say, I listened to Keith and Shawnee and Emma. They done a great show last night. I got it out this afternoon, so it's available for you if you want to download it. And it was brilliant, because I was literally listening, agreeing with stuff and not agreeing with stuff, and I was like, oh, why wasn't I there? But I was away with the family. Before I do, though, I want to talk to Liverpool. We want to do 15-20 minutes on Liverpool. Our charity this year is breast cancer research. Okay, and it's not just a straight forward, you know, we're supporting breast cancer research, give us some money. It's not like that. We have teamed up with 11 ladies who are going to run the Dublin Marathon in October, and they are going to train together. It's not till October. They started their first training session tonight, by the way. I know that because my wife was at it. My wife is not training for a marathon, by the way. She's just up doing her own exercise and whatever, running around. But these 11 are going to train with each other for the next 10 months, and they're going to run the Dublin Marathon. Now, one of the girls I know literally done her first ever half marathon about 4 weeks ago. So it's a huge leap, but they're going for it, okay? They've decided that breast cancer research is their charity that they want to support for varying reasons. They're women, and, you know, breast cancer affects women predominantly. It does. 1% of cases can be men as well, by the way. So it's not exclusive to women, but more or less is. But they're women, and they have friends, they might have family that have been affected, passed away, wherever it might be, from this illness. And it's horrible. Cancer is just horrible. So they want to do it for that. I got told about this. We always do a charity thing every year, including looking for money, looking for donations, doing a golf day, taking all the takings from the golf day and putting it back in, and donating that. So this is our thing this year, okay? We're going to be on it every day of the week. We are on it every day of the week. We're organising different things on a daily basis. The link is in the description for it. If you click the link, it'll bring you to the GoFundMe page. Donate by all means, or copy the link and send it to your friends, family, you know, whatever, workmates. I have A4. I have made up A4 posters for it, which I can email to you if you want to print them off and lash them around the canteen and work or wherever it might be. And it's very simple. You print this off, you stick it on the wall, someone walks past, oh, that's good. They hold their phone up to it, they scan the QR code, it brings them to the link and they can donate. So if anybody even wants me to email that, get in contact. I have no problem emailing fucking day and night if I know they're going to be stuck around canteens or workplaces or the boss's office, wherever it might be, okay? So the link is in the description. Donate if you can. Every single euro helps. You know what I mean? Every single Euro helps. But then when you share it and it gets around and people that see it then share it again and it just keeps going and going and going, we'll get them to their target. And let's be honest about it. I would do this if they just asked me to do it because, oh, my friend had breast cancer. But to turn around and say 11 of us are going to run a fucking marathon, like you can't say no to that. Like, it's impossible. You'd want to be a complete wanker to say no to that, wouldn't you, Pete? Like, you know what I mean? Imagine them going, we're all running the marathon. How many? 11 of us. We don't really run, but we're going to train and do it. And you're all right. You can't do that. Do you know what I mean? So, look, we're giving it big over this next week, explaining just in case people that haven't heard or seen you. And we will just keep reminding you on a daily basis on the shows, on our Twitter. It's on our LinkedIn, our Facebook, our Instagram. It's on our Linktree account. The link to the Linktree account is in the show description. So there's no way of you not finding this. There's no way of you not finding it. And don't be giving us super chats. And don't be giving us 5-star reviews. And don't be giving us any... Genuinely, if you're going to do one thing for this podcast in the next 6 months we think it's going to take to get to the target. If you're going to do anything for this podcast, right, just share the link. And if you can, donate. That's it. Don't worry about will the podcast be able to keep going. We'll make sure it keeps going. It costs money to do this. Genuinely, it does. We make some money out of it. We do. We're not going to say we're not. Like Shawnee said last night, we're not going to carry on like we're a fucking, a charity, non-profit. We do get revenue from what we do, but we spend a lot of it back into different things. But honestly, if you do one thing for this podcast in the next 6 months to say thanks for the content or keep up the good work or whatever it might be, share the link, take an email with the poster and print it out 10 times and stick it around your own house. Make it, someone might walk into your house and see it, and share it around the place. Donate if you can. That's all I'm going to say. Liverpool, P. I want to talk on field and I want to talk off field.
Where do you start, Gav?
Let me start. Where
do you want to start?
Let me start with on field. All right.
Yeah.
I think we are now the definition of insanity.
Yeah, I mean, and by that, obviously, you mean if you keep repeating the same actions and expecting different results, you are pretty much clinically insane. I don't know. I think I'd like to think that there's method to the madness in terms of the man is standing in front of a board saying, listen, it's a bit like, I don't know if you remember Arsene Wenger towards the end of his tenure. He was constantly defending Arsenal's board, saying, listen, we live within our means.
But hold on, before we go to our boards and all, on the pitch,
yeah,
right? We're going to get to the board and the owners and whatever else. But on the pitch, right?
Yeah.
We know what we need. We know
everybody does. Lungs.
Right?
And Shawnee and I keep saying every night to each other on Twitter, lungs.
Correct.
Lungs.
But I want to start with on-field because I want to start with the manager and the assistant manager that's apparently running the whole club and the analytics crowd and the coaches or whatever it might be for sending Liverpool players out, regardless of who you have. Because I before anybody jumps down my throat and says, oh, but we're missing this and we don't have... I get that. But at the end of the day, we've got ourselves into this position with regards to midfield. We have some injuries. I get that. But to continuously send out this squad of players in whatever guys you want to send them or whatever lineup you want to give, to continue playing the way we're trying to play is fucking insane.
Yeah,
Look, I love Klopp. I don't want him to ever go anywhere, right? I'm happy. Like, if Liverpool finish 10th for the next 4 seasons, I'm not happy. But Klopp's done loads. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way I am, right?
He's earned the right to.
He's earned the right to, maybe fall off a cliff and then come back, right? I get that. But Pete, come on. It's starting to be a little bit insulting when you see this team going out and you're kind of going... Emma said it last night. You go out and you can see what's going to happen. 15 minutes, boom, 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 we're great. Miss a few chances. They get it back in the game. We give a goal away. And then we don't know what the fuck's going on. And, and I get, right, Henderson can play 3 games in a week. Simple as that. Right? Thiago, is he playing in midfield a little bit on his own? Yeah, but he contributes to issues as well. Fabinho, the same. Elliot Young, should he be there? There's arguments around them all. But if you have to go out with Henderson, Thiago and Fabinho And you're seeing constantly that these players cannot go and press with that front three unit and are getting hurt and in turn are hurting our defence, and our goalkeepers being left isolated, right? If you're continuously doing that, why aren't they turning around and going, listen, Fabinho and Henderson in front of the back four? No pressing, sitting there. Thiago, you can move a little bit freer, but you'll have to do this and you'll have to do that. Okay? And we're going to make ourselves more solid. And when we attack, great. But when we lose it, we're going to make sure we get back. We don't go chasing fucking things stupid. We get back. And it's just the same all the time.
Yeah.
And I get we need midfielders and I get those players out. But you have to adapt. It'd be like fucking Darwin Núñez, right? Getting injured. And all we have left is a fella that's 6'1", not the quickest in the world, and saying, well, Darwin runs in behind, so you're going to have to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
No, and like, to be honest with you, what hurt even more is when you look at Wolves making those 3 changes, you could actually see, obviously it's not the word, you could see the thinking. You could just say, okay, I'm going to steamroll this. Lopetegui is like, I'm going to steamroll on you now because you are where you are, you're static, your boys are running out of puff, and for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to run you torrid. And that's all it was. And we don't have, and you're right, in the shape that we're in, persisting with those players, we don't have the answer. So Klopp then counters with a couple of young fellas, let's get Elliot warmed up, which isn't the answer. Personally, I prefer to see unknown young fellas with engines running around the park doing the basic things, because there's not spectacular things that we can't do. It's the basic running, tracking back and getting overrun. You don't need to be world class to do the running. So, I mean, waiting for Fabinho to come back into form, I love Fabinho, but waiting for him to come back into form is ridiculous. Expecting Henderson to be able to run marathons, twice a week is ridiculous. And for Thiago to be your most effective, if you like, stopper is the part that I find insane. Sometimes you're looking at Thiago going, is he the only one there? This doesn't make sense at all. He used to be supplemental and superfluous. Now I find him to be, oh Jesus, thank God he's there, which is weird. He's supposed to be that last piece of the jigsaw, that final piece of finesse.
Yes, but hold on. But Thiago goes into a team, right? And when Thiago's in a team, you need players around him, one behind him that's at top of their game. Thiago might lose the odd ball here and there because he's trying something different, but you have a fella behind him in Fabinho, peak Fabinho, and you have a Henderson or whoever, right, on the right hand side beside him that's going to walk, okay? And that's where we tried to change from that Brexit midfield, as they called it, where Wijnaldum, Henderson, Fabinho, right? Because it was like, we need to create more. When the funny thing is, what we probably need to do is get back to that, and that'll be okay because we've enough world beaters in the team, in the likes of, for me, I think Diaz is brilliant. I think Núñez will be brilliant. Jota, Salah, the 2 fullbacks. We kind of fell into a trap with that midfield thing, and for me, but that's, and it hasn't worked out. But Kev says there, you're asked to unlearn everything they've been drilled to do for the last 4 years. I completely get that. But, Kev, if I was looking at that team and I thought to myself, he's not trying, and he's not trying, and we need to change it, right? I'd be fine. But they are trying. But they just can't get there. They can't make that extra half yard. They can't run that extra 10 yards in a chase. They just can't get there. And if you can't get there, it's easier to say to a player, you can't get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you 3 by changing slightly what you do to make it easier on you, right? Yeah. Make the team more solid, but we're still going to be able to get these boys up top on the ball. And that's what we're going to do.
Do you think we suffer? I personally think we suffer. But I'm asking you, do you think we suffer in terms of the way sometimes we recruit a player and we recruit players? It's almost like you have to be to fulfill certain criteria to the nth degree before Jurgen Klopp will take a chance. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to go scattergun like Nottingham Forest, like Chelsea. Don't want to do that either. But do you not think we suffer a little bit whereby that it has to be in absolutes? Now, don't get me wrong, it served us well in the past and I agree with it when it comes to attacking players. That listen, we want to make sure it's not mercenary city. It's not this. It's not that. But you not think now it's like listen, I'm not like we do that and then we go and sign Arthur on loan. I mean, sometimes I find that we contradict ourselves and then we go and do something desperate, and it's just
I
that's the
think,
insane
I,
part.
I think, all right, I think in recruitment, I think we've walked ourselves into this situation. Now, in saying that, we're sitting here off the back of, you know, we're having a bad run. We're having a bad half season here, right? And people say, I could see it happening last season when we were going for the quadruple. Would you ever fucking go and ask me bollocks? Because when you were going to win everything last season, you weren't giving a fuck about, oh, was he looking a bit leggy? You just wanted to win every game. All analytics and everything went out the window, right? As a football fan, you're just like, just win the fucking game. And we said it all the time, don't care how we play, just win the fucking game. Just win it, right? Now, we have walked ourselves into it. Not us, personally. The club have. And I think they've just been a little bit unlucky. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain would have been gone only for an injury. That's what I think. Right?
Yeah.
I think so. But I don't think they haven't moved things on the way it should be. Like, people saying we need 4 midfielders, we need 5 midfielders. We don't need 4 or 5 midfielders. That's just pie in the sky stuff, right? You need 3. And this is how you need 3. You need, if Keita goes, Oxlade-Chamberlain goes and Milner goes, and you buy 3 quality midfielders. Those 3, for me, added to Fabinho, who will benefit the most of all if you do this, right? Thiago, that's 5, right? You move Henderson into the Milner role, as will be in the squad, because I just think it's just corruptible. It's just, you know, he'd have good games, he'd have bad games, his influence was dropping, but it's just now, it looks like he's just tired. Constantly tired, and it's not like a rest does him, right? You move him in there, and then you say to yourself, right, I still have Elliott, and I still have Jones, right? Okay, I'm trying to think if there's any more on top of that, right?
The young fella, the Spanish
Bacic, right? But what I'm saying is,
like
if you bring 3 in, add Fabinho and think to that, that's 5, and then if you end up with 8, which is, or 9, which is Elliott, Jones, Henderson, Bacic, you're fine. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You can use Bacic your game. You can lose Henderson next game.
It's the basics. When you
but what I'm saying, we walked ourselves into that, right? We walked ourselves into that, and that's fine. There's no point in arguing all day. It's fine. We know we need a midfielder, and we come on to the owners in a minute. But what I'm saying is, Pete, if I know I've walked myself, I've done something wrong here, and I don't have the tools to fully rectify it, I have to make the best of what I have now.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. If I make a mistake and I go, I can't get out of this. What am I going to do here? You take your medicine to a point, and you do your best to rectify it by doing something different. You know what I mean?
But that's the downside, Gav, of having a philosophy. And just Klopp reminds me of Arsene Wenger in a lot of ways. When it's working, it's fucking great and you're world class. But when, for example, when Arsene Wenger needed a goalkeeper, and for years people were like, well, Shay Given is looking for a winning gig, and he could be the missing piece. He refused, and eventually he brought Jens Lehmann in, and stayed with Jens Lehmann through thick and thin, by hook or by crook, and he cost him a Champions League final, in my opinion. You know, I just find that stubbornness is great when things are working, but then when things are glaringly obvious, like, no, I'm sticking to my principles. I suppose you can't have it both ways, but I'm a big fan of pragmatism. You do what works, like you were saying.
Like Pete, I'm not saying to you that if Liverpool, you know, we've no hope of getting top 4. I kind of think to myself, we just stop it. Like there's half a season to go, right? But what I'm saying is, if we look at the games gone by, and we should be signing a midfielder in January, let's put that on record, right? But even if one midfielder isn't going to change this, it's going to help, but it's not going to change. So even if you bring a midfielder in, you could say, right, we're bringing this midfielder in, but listen, we're going to stop this stuff where our midfield 3 goes fucking pressing like mad and we're open and stuff like that. When we attack, we'll attack. When we lose it, we're going to have to probably let them come out a little bit with the ball rather than trying to get them, and stop them playing around us and stuff like that. We're going to need to be more compact to save legs, because even if a fella comes in and he can run all fucking day, like he's like the water boy, he just runs all day, right?
Yeah.
Even if he does that, he's going to end up doing the running of two fellas if you continue to, and then he's fucked. Do you know what I'm saying? And I've no problem going and getting top four by going, my God, that was boring that second half of the season. But out of the 18 games, we got fucking 12 wins and 3 draws. It got us into Champions League. We're all good.
But Gav, I'll say something else, and I'll be honest, and people are going to hammer me for this. But I think Roberto Firmino is a huge miss. We keep the ball better when he plays. I don't care what anybody says. And I think a lot of it, I'm a big fan of Núñez. Love the way he runs at people and terrifies people. But I've always felt that Núñez would be bled a little bit like Andy Robertson. Though people will disagree with me, you don't spend 60, 70 million quid in a player to bleed him into the team. That's not how Klopp is. Klopp is a big fan of bleeding someone in. I honestly believe that Firmino was going to, I think it was planned for. We keep the ball better when Bobby Firmino plays. He drops in and helps that midfield as well. I think we are really missing him. Really think we're missing him.
I think we're missing bodies anyway. I think having more of them back, whether you like them or not, would be good. Do you know what I mean? Does Diaz come back and give Núñez a bit of a rest? When does Jota come back and give I don't know, anyone a bit of anyone, Firmino, whatever it might be. Do you know what I mean? But I just think we can argue all day about who we need, but what we have, I think, looking at it from the manager's side, and people think when you say this, you're going to go, but you don't like Klopp anymore. No, but like when Liverpool were winning the title and winning the European Cup, I would turn around at times and go, Klopp got that completely wrong, in my opinion. You're allowed to do that, but right now for me, I'm looking going, you have to stop playing this game. It's not working, and you're only going to get yourself into more trouble. Now, some people have said to me, he's probably doing it just to fucking get himself a midfielder, but that doesn't really ring true, because he seems to he's towing his line, or FSG are towing theirs, or vice versa, on each other, and they know what they're on about. I think they have people going on about the ownership. I actually think they have something they want to do.
Gav, by the way, I agree with you, and I'll tell you why. I know you want to talk about this. I'll tell you why. The way our owners are, I think they're clever, and they're ruthlessly so. It's almost like they probably had a couple of conversations in Dubai at a training camp, and maybe there's something in principle, but they're going to sell to someone that is not going to go down well with the fan base, and they're waiting to almost to be hounded out, so they can say, "Listen, you want to sell."
Maybe so. I think player wise, I think they have something they want to do, and I just don't know. I don't know whether they agreed. Listen, this is what we're going to do in the summer. This isn't working, and it's just getting worse and worse now. And they're kind of going, "Can we do it now?" And then people will talk about the owners, because I find it very weird that if they aren't leaving the club, I find it very weird that they either don't sort something this month with a midfielder, or definitely have something done for the summer, because it's more, and not even if you like them or don't like them, it's like, lads, I really like you, or I fucking hate you, but seriously, you can't walk in as Liverpool Football Club into the summer with no midfielder lined up. It just makes no sense.
When we needed a defender, they went out and bought the best.
I know, but they need something now, and I don't know whether they've put something in place for the summer, and they're kind of going, we can't do anything else.
Yeah.
This one's happening in the summer. We can't do anything else at the moment. But now it's getting worse and worse. Can we do something now at the moment? I just think it's mad. But just on the thing, Jono said you can question Klopp, but I'm seeing some YouTube channels having a Klopp in versus Klopp out debate. What the fuck is going on? Turn them off.
Exactly.
Turn them off.
Sorry. Beyond.
Listen. I don't know, John. I'm not getting into that, because you're only accused you're only accused of all sorts of even react to something like that. But for me personally, John, I would turn that off, because that's not a debate for the purpose of having a debate, and I'm not going to say any more than that. Right? There's other purposes to putting that text on a screen.
I mean, you're talking about lads going on the internet talking about hammering Pep Linders for doing his job. doing the job that he's paid to do.
But the thing with the thing
No
with Pep
comment.
Linders is, and don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong on Pep Linders. He might have huge influence, and he has to take some of the blame as the assistant manager. But all this stuff about Pep Linders has come from people just making up that Pep Linders is doing this, that, and the other. I seen somebody say he's responsible for 3 of the last 5 signings. You're going to go,
How do you know?
Nunes, Diaz. You're going to go, they're all right, you know. They're all right signings. It's just mad. And then Jamie Carragher didn't help. Well, I don't know if it's Pep Linders. Well, you don't know, so don't fucking say it. But you know exactly what you're saying, because that's how Sky work nowadays. But anyway, off field, right, Pete, where do you stand on the ownership? Because I'm going to be honest with you, right? And I've said it loads of times, and people don't like me for it. People give me abuse over it. A lot of people just have a conversation with me about it, which I'm absolutely fine with. I'll talk to anybody about FSG, whether they fucking despise them or love them. I'll talk to anybody about them. I'll listen. I'll give my point of view, and we'll probably just shake hands and walk away after. Because at the end of the day, the owners of Liverpool aren't a big deal in the wider scheme of things in life. They're not, right? But my thing on it is, I think they've a fantastic business model, right? I think they have nailed their business model. I think they haven't taken a penny out of the club. Anything they've earned, they've put back in, which is getting bigger and bigger every season because they're very good at their model. I think they're being made the scapegoats a little bit because Liverpool are expected to do what other clubs are doing, right? And you know what I'm talking about because I've said it loads of times, right? And that's my feeling. I feel like FSG are kind of being held to account because they're not doing what Man City are doing or what Newcastle could do, right? And I'm not comfortable with that, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want football to be dragged into line with these few, rather than those few being dragged into line with the rest of football. That's the way I am. I don't want Liverpool sold to a state and be state owned. I've said that from the very start. But what I would say is that if you were to ask me now what I think should happen to FSG, there's only 2 things from me. You either change the way you do things, because as much as you don't like what goes on over here, you're going to have to find a middle ground. You know, your 600 million a year coming in is just not enough to their billion, or to their 800 million or whatever it is, right? But 700 might be enough, and 700 with what you have, the manager, the stadium, the fans, will get you enough, right? You either do that, okay, which is stretching yourself a bit, but not going to ridiculous lengths and putting, maybe not the club in peril, but putting the club into debt, right? But you're finding a middle ground here, year on year. Or you sell it on to someone that maybe has the same idea as you, but are willing to put this in. And that's my perfect scenario, I'm going to be honest with you. My perfect scenario is someone comes in and buys it and says, listen, we're buying this. We feel we can run this exactly the same as it is, but we are going to find an extra 100 million a year to put into this this playing squad. And I'm all for it once it's not state owned. And when I say state owned, people think, oh, you're going on about the Middle East again. I'm not. Any state. Doesn't matter what it is. The Vatican.
Totally.
I don't want the Vatican owning Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I am. Where are you?
I'm old enough to remember Hicks and Gillette and us being 4 hours from going into administrating, and we should have been deducted points. We could have gone into any state. I'm old enough to remember that. I'll be forever grateful for what the lads at FSG have done. I regardless of who's in the door, if even the richest people in the world take over and they're not a state, bit like yourself, and they run the club the way the lads have run it, or at least try to, I'll be grateful because they've shown us that a responsible business model can work. I would take a step further though, Gav. I think Liverpool are probably the most attractive proposition in the world of sports, of what's available. Even the shit show at Manchester United, it's not as attractive because of the complications that you'll have from the Glazers. You will have complications with them. I think nobody is all over them because of what they will want. And plus, they've no reason to sell. They've no reason to sell because they leverage Manchester United against all of their other interests. I don't believe that they'll sell. I don't think they want to. But us, I think there's deals probably in principle on the table. And maybe the lads are uncomfortable, talking about it, publicising it, whatnot. I think they want publicly to be pushed into a corner, which is why probably they're refusing to talk about the transfer dealings. That these guys are clever. They're clever. And we never really know what they're doing. Until I remember waking up one morning and we had Jurgen Klopp had signed a new contract. Shawnee texted me, I was in Malaga. Jurgen Klopp had signed a new contract. I couldn't believe it. Mohammed Salah had signed a new contract out of nowhere. These guys do things not just on the down low. For all these in the nose, Liverpool have exposed the in the nose as being complete frauds. They've exposed them because nobody really knows. So for me, I think there could be 2 or 3 deals on the table.
Yeah, but it's not even about what people know. What I'm saying is, Pete, it's not even about what people know or don't know. What I'm saying is the reality of the matter is that the way football is at the moment, and it's only going to get worse in 2025, by the way, because that's when the new FFP comes in and they've been given a 3-year run at it where they can absolutely just melt all their fucking things into one and say, oh yeah, we're being sponsored by this. There's another one from City the other day, which is quite interesting as well. But it's not even what people know or don't know. The reality is that these clubs over here are doing this, right? Now, I don't want us to be that club over there doing that, because we've spent years going on about these clubs going, they're fucking cheating, right? So we don't want to be that. We don't want to be that. But what I'm saying is, Liverpool are making record amount of money. They are spending that money, right? And they can't buy what these other teams are buying. So you're going to have to find, you're either going to have to go do what they're doing, which I think is ludicrous for a club of Liverpool to do, right? Or you're going to have to say to yourself, well, what do we have? We've a brilliant stadium. We've a fanatical fucking fan base. When this place gets going, there's nowhere like it. We've seen European nights. We've seen league campaigns. We have Jurgen Klopp, right? This is what we have. We've a really, really, really good squad, but it probably needs overall 4 to 5 players. If it's turnover, 4 or 5 out, 4 or 5 in, and you're really looking strong again, and you can then look to turn them over as you go, right? So someone can come in and go, I think 100 million a year extra would do that, and you're still protecting your asset, by the way.
Of course, it's the most attractive.
But that's why I think at the moment. That's why I think at the moment, FSG have 2 choices. They find that 100 million, and it's not me having a go and going, you don't do enough. It's just realistically what has to happen. Find that per year, which they're probably going to try to do by selling a minority stake or whatever that might be, but I don't know how that will work. Or you let it go. And you let it go to somebody where you say to somebody who's coming in, or someone comes in and says, we're buying it off you, and this is what we're going to do.
You buy something for 300 million, 400 million, and you can flip it for 4 billion a decade later. You're flipping it, Gav. You're flipping, of course you are. And listen, there's people out there for whom 3.8 billion pounds is a bargain. And people that already have a predisposition towards Liverpool Football Club. I'm telling you, they're obviously having conversations I don't think that they're comfortable with.
Yeah,
they don't care about what the fans think about state ownership, what you and I think about state. They don't care. They cared about the 3.8 to 4 billion.
Yeah.
That they're
and John says there, we either get on the train or left behind. Unfortunately, that's modern football. This is what we've become. I don't blame fans for walking away, but most of our fans will still support the club. I completely get that. But what I'm saying is that what's being made out of this is, it's like we need to be a million years away from what FSG do, which is not true. Like, it's not true. You know, like if you were starting out in business tomorrow and said, I have fucking £1 million in my pocket and I want to make, 10 times that, someone will probably give you FSG at Liverpool and go, listen, if you follow that to scale, you'll probably do really fucking well. We don't have to be a million years away from them. We just need to find, we could compete because we spent X amount and we had Klopp, the stadium, the fans, we get a momentum, you know how it works. We need to just go up an extra level. Find more money, right, per year, and the rest will take care of itself. I'm convinced that. Look, I'll put it to you this way. If Liverpool had spent 100 million more than they did in the summer, you're probably sitting with 2 midfielders that you don't have, right? what you don't have now, you would have. Liverpool we wouldn't be having this conversation. That's the way I feel about it. But I think I'm at the stage now where January will tell you a lot. All right. And I'm at the stage where a decision needs to be made on this because we spoke last week. It's starting to affect. It's starting to affect the fan base, and I'm not talking about if you're FSG or FSG in or out. I'm talking about a fan base that are kind of going, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot out there that you wouldn't really take much notice of, but fans are starting to go, like, "What's actually happening?" And you will get people saying, "Oh, well, there's nothing happening because you're just making up in your own heads that something's happening," but that's not true. You know what I mean? That's just simply not true. But
look,
it's starting with a fan base now that's asking what's happening. Yeah. You've a manager that's not struggling, but he needs help. You've a squad that needs help, and I think January would say a lot. But I'd like a decision to be made. I've no issue with FSG come out tomorrow and say we're staying. What we're going to do is our model is great. We're going to put 500 million in over the next 5 years on top of whatever we earn. Yeah. Fine, everything's done with. Let's go and do the job.
But they've looked, Gav, at what Chelsea have been sold for. And I honestly believe that because when Chelsea went up, and because it was basically a distressed asset, I would have assumed, and a lot of financial people would have assumed that the British government at the time would have sold for maybe 2.5 billion. But to get that type of money for a distressed asset, that
but you get 2.75 for it, with 1.75 guaranteed in investment, which is infrastructure, the women's team, the stadium, playing staff and stuff like that, right? So it comes out at about 4.25, right? But it's still 4.25.
Yeah, Chelsea is worth that. They've went, listen, look at what we spent, let's cash in. It's good business because like any bubble, I'm not saying football is a bubble because it isn't, it just keeps growing. But like any bubble, sometimes it can burst or at least it can deflate. And there's always going to be that fear. And I'm sure every investor or every financial advisor is on to Tom saying, listen, it's time to reap your reward now and move on. So he's already looking at his next purchases. He's already looking at his next investments. It's obvious what he's doing. And who can blame him? But I think he feels that he needs to manage it. He needs to make it seem like a Titanic struggle. I didn't want to sell to just anyone. He wants to sell to anyone who will pay. Simple.
John O says a club of Liverpool's size and revenue should be able to afford to buy 2 top midfielders for 50 to 60 million plus without FSG putting any of their own money in. John O, I feel like this is Groundhog Day. Liverpool don't have 120 million quid hanging around. They just don't. What they earn, they spend. Right? What they earn, they spend. What happens there is there's no club out there putting 50 to 60 million on 2 players without going above their limit. And FSG don't. And whether you like it or you don't, that's the truth. Right? There's clubs out there making up sponsors and the amount they're being paid by these sponsors to fund what they're doing. There's another club out there that people think are for sale, right? Have no cash reserves and are sitting on 1 billion in debt. Not 500 million, 1 billion in debt. That's why they're scrambling around this January looking, going, can we sign it? And what'll probably happen, they'll probably do 50 or 60 million at the end of this window. Because why? Because they'll just do it. You know what I mean? And who gives a fuck? And we don't want to do that. But this is what I'm saying. Liverpool spend what they earn, right? And the thing is, it gets us competing. Because don't give me all this, we don't compete with Arsenal anymore. Would you fucking stop? Do you know what I mean? Arsenal are having a good half season and we're not, right? But what I'm saying is that if we went and overall we have competed, should we have won more? Maybe. What's it down to? Maybe signings, maybe fucking substitution somewhere, right? But what I'm saying is Liverpool earn fantastic money and spend it, right? Other teams earn good money, pretend they earn fantastic money, and spend more than that. So that's what you're at. But look, I think I'd like to see a decision made on it sooner rather than later. And I think any movement or lack of in January, I think you might end up knowing exactly what's going on, Pete. I'll leave you the last word before we go, because we're way late.
No, absolutely. Listen, and for me, I just think the big shame for me is that anybody would remember this with with bitterness. I mean, to think of where we were when they took over, for me, it's a song and dance. Like anything with financials at this level, has to be a song and dance. I think they've listened. I think if you remember back to the COVID days, if you remember the furlough situation, they really have taken in people's opinions, and they're just doing a PR song and dance. There are obviously offers there. There's obviously movement there. It's just when they feel like, and you'll wake up one morning and it'll be like, oh, I'm bored with this, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's sold. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
It's the
maybe
way it
so.
is with Liverpool.
Maybe so. Before we go, check out bookmakers.com for our website and the YouTube channel in the description. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. I should be on there in a video tomorrow. I'm on weekly, and the two lads I'm on are really nice. United and sports fans, and me talk about all things Premier League. So go and check that out. The breast cancer research, the link is in there as well in the show description. You'll find it across all our social media if you want to donate or take a copy and share it and stuff like that. And yeah, the rest of the week. What day is today? Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday.
Okay.
Tomorrow, might be doing a history show tomorrow, I think. Wednesday will be the midweek fix. We'll sort something out for that. Thursday, the viewers' voice is back for the first time in the new year. Friday, Premier League forecast. And then we go from there. There's going to be full-time Reds and all sorts of stuff going on. But Red Steve asked the final question for you, Pete. He says, Gav, before you go, can you ask Pedro if he uses a knife or a peeler to peel potatoes? The smart money is on a peeler.
Peeler. My wife has this green thing with blades all around. It's quite nifty. One of those things I didn't even know was invented.
Right.
So you just slap it around it, and all of a sudden it's a ball potato.
Fucking hell.
Legendary. He's right.
We had a huge row on the show during the week about this.
Serious?
Yeah.
You don't use a knife still in 2023?
No, we use a peeler, but there was all stuff about, like, do you put salt in it? Do you rinse them out? There was more that went on, me and Keith.
It has to be wet. Has to be wet to get that peeler around.
Yeah. So anyway, look, it's a peeler for Pete. I'll be back tomorrow. I think we're doing a history show tomorrow. My head's all over the place. I took a day off, and I don't know where I am now, to be honest with you. But we will have shows literally every day, every night this week. So it's all good. And I'm nearly sure there's a show in my head that I've just completely forgotten. So I'll let you know about that at some stage as well. That has been Winners and Losers. Thanks a million to Pete for joining us. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us as well. Make sure you hit like now or on the way out. If you're listening on audio download, give us a 5-star review. But if you don't want to do any of that and just donate instead or share instead, I'll take that. We'll absolutely take that. That's been it. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.